Hi class, I'm going to be reading Matilda chapter 8 today, and I figured that it might be fun for you guys to watch my fish tank. I've got the nightlight on it right now while I read. Okay, so we left off on chapter number 7, and it's been a little while, sorry. Matilda started her new school, and she had the principal named Mrs. Trunchbull. She wasn't a nice lady, and we had her new teacher whose name was Miss Honey, and Miss Honey was a very nice lady. So this is chapter number 8. It's called The Trunchbull. In the interval, Miss Honey left the classroom and headed straight for the headmistress's study. She felt wildly excited. She had just met a small girl who possessed, or it seemed to her, quite extraordinary qualities of brilliance. There had not been time yet to find out exactly how brilliant the child was, but Miss Honey had learned enough to realize something had to be done about it as soon as possible. It would be ridiculous to have a child like that stuck in the bottom form. Normally, Miss Honey was terrified of the headmistress and kept well away from her, but at this moment she felt ready to take on anybody. She knocked on the door of the dreaded private study. "Enter!" boomed the deep, dangerous voice of Miss Trunchbull. Miss Honey went in. Now, most head teachers are chosen because they possess a number of fine qualities. They understand children, and they have the children's best interests at heart. They are sympathetic, they are fair, and they are deeply interested in education. Miss Trunchbull possessed none of these qualities, and how she ever got her present job was a mystery. She was above all a most formidable female. She had once been a famous athlete, and even now the muscles were still clearly in evidence. You could see them in bull neck, in the big shoulders, in the thick arms, in the sinewy wrists, in the powerful legs. Looking at her, you got the feeling that this was someone who could bend iron bars or tear telephone directories in half. That's a phone book. I don't know if you guys know what those are. Her face, I'm afraid, was neither a thing of beauty nor a joy forever. She had an obstinate chin, a cruel mouth, and small, arrogant eyes. And as for her clothes, they were, to say the least, extremely odd. She always had on a brown cotton smock, which was pinched in around the waist with a wide leather belt. The belt was fastened in front with an enormous silver buckle. The massive thighs which emerged from out of the smock were encased in a pair of extraordinary breeches, bottle green in color, and made of coarse twill. Breeches are like pants. These breeches reached to just below the knees, and from there on down she sported green stockings with turnip tops, which displayed her calf muscles to perfection. On her feet she wore flat-heeled brown brogues with leather flaps. She looked, in short, more like a rather eccentric and bloodthirsty follower of the stag-hounds than the headmistress of a nice school for children. When Miss Honey entered the study, Miss Trunchbull was standing beside her huge desk with a look of scowling impatience on her face. "Yes, Miss Honey," she said. "What is it you want? You're looking very flushed and flustered this morning. What's the matter with you? Have those little stinkers been flicking spitballs at you?" "No, headmistress, nothing like that." "Well, what is it then? Get on with it. I am a busy woman." As she spoke, she reached out and poured herself a glass of water from a jug that was always on her desk. I'm going to ask you guys in our flip grid to compare Mrs. Kinney to Mrs. Trunchbull. Here's a picture of her. So I'd say from looking at your guys' flip grid pictures the last time I read that you did a pretty good job. "There is a little girl in my class called Matilda Wormwood," Miss Honey began. "That's the daughter of the man who owns Wormwood Motors in the village," Miss Trunchbull barked. She hardly ever spoke in a normal voice. She either barked or shouted. "An excellent person, Wormwood," she went on. "I was there only yesterday. He sold me a car. Almost new. Only done 10,000 miles. Previous owner was an old lady who took it out once a year at the most. A terrific bargain. Yes, I liked Wormwood. A real pillar of our society. He told me the daughter was a bad lot, though. He said to watch her. He said if anything bad ever happened in the school, it was certain to be his daughter who did it. I haven't met the little brat yet, but she'll know about it when I do. Her father said she's a real wart." So, their family, did they describe Matilda accurately, do you guys think? "Oh, no, headmistress, that can't be right," Miss Honey cried. "Oh, yes, Miss Honey. It darn well is right. In fact, now I come to think of it, I'll bet it was she who put that stink bomb under my desk here first thing this morning. The place stank like a sewer. Of course it was her. I shall have her in for that. You'll see if I don't. What's she look like, nasty little worm? I'll be bound. I have discovered, Miss Honey, during my long career as a teacher, that a bad girl is far more dangerous creature than a bad boy. What's more, they're much harder to squash. Squashing a bad girl is like trying to squash a blue bottle. You bang down on it and the darn thing isn't there. Nasty, dirty things, little girls are. Glad I never was one. Oh, but you must have been a little girl once, headmistress. Surely you were. Not for long, anyway, Miss Trunchbull barked, grinning. I became a woman very quickly. She's completely off her rocker, Miss Honey told herself. She's barmy and a bedbug. Miss Honey stood resolutely before the headmistress. For once she was not going to be browbeaten. I must tell you, headmistress, she said, that you are completely mistaken about Matilda putting a stink bomb under your desk. I am never mistaken, Miss Honey. But headmistress, the child only arrived in school this morning and came straight to the classroom. Don't argue with me, for heaven's sake, woman. This little brute Matilda, or whatever her name is, has stink-bombed my study. There's no doubt about it. Thank you for suggesting it. But I didn't suggest it, headmistress. Of course you did. Now, what is it you want, Miss Honey? Why are you wasting my time? I came to talk to you about Matilda, headmistress. I have extraordinary things to report about the child. May I please tell you what happened in class just now? I suppose you set fire to your skirt and scorched your knickers, Miss Trunchbull snorted. Oh, no, Miss Honey cried out. Matilda's a genius. At the mention of this word, Miss Trunchbull's face turned purple and her whole body seemed to swell up like a bullfrog's. A genius, she shouted. What piffle is this you're talking, madame? You must be out of your mind. I have her father's word for it that the child is a gangster. Her father is wrong, headmistress. Don't be a twerp, Miss Honey. You have met the little beast for only half hour, and your father has known her all her life. But Miss Honey was determined to have her say, and she now began to describe some of the amazing things Matilda had done with arithmetic. So she's learnt a few tables by heart, has she? Miss Trunchbull barked. My dear woman, that does not make her a genius. It makes her a parrot. But headmistress, she can read. So can I, Miss Trunchbull snapped. It is my opinion, Miss Honey said, that Matilda should be taken out of my form and placed immediately in the top form with the 11-year-olds. Ha! snorted Miss Trunchbull. So you want to get rid of her, do you? So you can't handle her? So now you want to unload her on the wretched Miss Plimsoll in the top form? Well, she will cause even more chaos. So basically what she's saying, you guys, is she's telling Miss Trunchbull that she wants to take Matilda out of her class, which is kindergarten, and put her in 5th grade. No, no, cried Miss Honey. That's not my reason at all. Oh, yes it is, shouted Miss Trunchbull. I can see right through your little plot, madame. And my answer is no. Matilda stays where she is, and it is up to you to see that she behaves herself. But headmistress, please, not another word, shouted Miss Trunchbull. And in any case, I have a rule in this school that all children remain in their own age groups regardless of ability. Great Scott, I'm not having a little 5-year-old sitting in with the senior girls and boys of the top form. Who ever heard of such a thing? Miss Honey stood there helpless before this great redneck giant. There was a lot more she could like to have said, but she knew it was useless. She said softly, Very well, then, it's up to you, headmistress. You're darn right it's up to me, Miss Trunchbull bellowed. And don't forget, madame, we're all dealing here with a little viper who put a stink bomb under my desk. She did not do that, headmistress. Of course she did it, Miss Trunchbull boomed. And I'll tell you what, I wish to heavens I was still allowed to use birchen belt as I did in the good old days. That means beat kids with the belt. I'd have roasted Matilda's bottom for her so she couldn't sit down for a month. Miss Honey turned and walked out of the study feeling depressed, by no means defeated. I am going to do something about this child, she told herself. I don't know what it will be, but I shall find a way to help her in the end. So that is the end of chapter number 8, my friends.